All right, let's do this. What's up, y'all? It's your boy Floyd, a.k.a. Your Degas, a.k.a. owner of Team Delaney Saggy Tits, and of course, Commish of the best fantasy football league in the world. And obviously, that is Nantucketts Revenge. And as per usual, I am joined by my lovely and amazing co-host and owner of Team Thousand Oaks Gang, Michael Wiseman. How you doing?
Not too bad. Coming off a win last week, so pretty pleased about that, but still a long way to go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Standings are looking all right. We no longer have any undefeated teams, and everybody's got a win. So, Wiseman, could you take us through the standings?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think we even had any undefeated teams last week, but regardless, we got two teams tied at 4-1 at the top. The Golden Taint and xnxx.com/Alexis Texas, Ricky and Rob respectively, followed by, it looks like, 5 3-2 teams. I'm sorry, it looks like it's 5. Toledo Cheat Clappers, John is Loose, Miller Time, Rusty Cunts, and Team Butts, which are Billy, Mikey, Andy, Trevor, and Butts. Followed by 2 and 3 teams, Mr. Verizon and Coach Carr. That would be Drake and Coach Carr. And then rounding out the bottom, we've got 3 1 and 4 teams in order: Delaney Saggy Tits, Bye Week, and Thousand Oaks Gang, which would be yourself, Devin, and myself, rounding out the bottom.
Sorry. I'm just messing with the chat link here, trying to see what we got going on. So yeah, you got the monkey off your back. You got the win against Andy. That's obviously a good win to get. And I lost a heartbreaker. What else do we have? Billy continues. Did Billy win?
No, I think he was unlucky and lost this week. Or maybe, you know what? We're going to have to check the scoreboard for that one because I actually don't know. It's not always easy to pay attention to anyone's team apart from your own with the stakes so high.
Definitely. Give me just one sec.
Yeah, we can.
Rob said Chad doesn't look like a total dirt bag. That's the first. So can we see that? Okay, so we can see that. That's what I was checking. Cool. So we can see that in the chat. Cool beans.
What up, Rob? Thanks for joining us.
Hey, fuck you, Rob. Okay, cool. So yeah, obviously we have a new system here. We're trying to work out the kinks and stuff. And in the future, we probably could send out like an invite to everybody, and then I can like choose when to bring them in to the video. Like if I sent an invite to Rob right now, I could keep him on the side and let him pop in if I want like somebody else to pipe in type of thing. So that's cool. But yeah, let's go over last week's scoreboard and we'll just go over everybody's stuff and see what happened.
Sure. I'm assuming you're going to want to start with your matchup there. Bit unlucky to go against the top scoring team this week, but what can you say?
Unlucky.
Mikey's team just really performed quite admirably, you have to say. I mean, getting some key points out of Derrick Henry, Antonio Brown, Marquise Brown, even Chuba Hubbard with a decent performance. So, I mean, you can't really see the points that they put up on the screen there. You can only really see their projections, it looks like. But
okay,
I'm looking at the scores right here. AB and Marquise Brown
on the far right.
Derrick Henry with over 30. His lowest performer was Juju, but even still, with 0.06 from Juju, he was able to put up a monstrous 180 and pull out the win. Whereas you put up 166 with, plenty of great performances on your end, but unfortunately at the end of the day, it just was not enough.
Yeah, I lost by 14. Tough to say if I would have won. The ultimate deciding factor was probably Kadarius Toney getting tackled at the 1. 2 plays later, that's when Daniel Jones got hurt. If he goes in the end zone there, that's, 10 points. That puts me at 176 with a whole half to play with Daniel Jones not hurt at all. So I imagine, I mean, at the end of the day, that's the way she fucking goes. It was a heartbreaker for sure. It was an awesome sweat. And we were both in it till the end. And we don't happen to have the link to Andy's Excel sheet, do we?
No, we don't have the link, but I believe I can pull it up on my phone here so I can at least look at it.
I was going to do it for a screen share, but regardless, yeah, I went up against the highest scoring team of the week. I was the second highest scoring team of the week, and that I was already the unluckiest team according to the board, and then that just increased it dramatically. I am currently 4 times unluckier than the next unlucky team. So it just fucking hurts. But on the bright side, I looked into it today. Every year, you can take up to 6 losses and still make the playoffs. It happens every year. So I can eat 2 more, looking to win out. If I lose another one, even that's still fine. So I'm not super down on it because I think my team is still really quality. I'm happy to have Mike Williams, happy to have Jasicki. We'll see where Kadarius Toney can go. I'll have Jerry Jeudy back in maybe a small handful of weeks. And if Julio Jones can just put up some numbers, I might be able to pull out a win next week. So on to the next one. We have Mr. Verizon, Drake Zagula, Golden Taint, Ricky. Ricky pulled it out. I think Kyler probably underperformed more than Drake would like. Starting J.D. McKissick at all is not great. Renfro probably got the floor Drake was looking for, but I just don't see the upside in starting someone like Tyler Renfro. Drake was texting me all week, like, pissed that I called him out for Tyler Renfro. Well, as I said, I don't think Drake's flexes will be able to pull through for him, and his flexes scored him a combined 12 points. That's how I put it last week, and that essentially could have been the difference.
Ultimately the big difference makers were obviously Lamar Jackson had a huge night on Monday Night Football, put up nearly 42 points. He had 2 of the running backs in a massive shootout between the Chargers and the Browns, having Eckler and Chubb both put up a bunch of points. Despite getting 0 from Kenny Golladay and only 4 from Odell Beckham, he was largely carried by his quarterback, running backs, and then Mike Evans was able to chip in with 30. So
his hitters came to play, and that was all she wrote.
Yeah, you got to imagine that when your opponent's quarterback's putting upwards of 40 points and between your 2 running backs, you're getting over 50. It's really tough to overcome that. So at the end of the day, obviously Robert Woods had a solid game. DeAndre Hopkins was able to find the end zone. So Drake, putting up 130 is, oftentimes enough to win you a week. But when your opponent gets the type of production that Ricky gets, your team has to be one of the top scorers of the week in order to overcome that, and just wasn't meant to be for Drake.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You want to take over your box score from last week? You got your first win. Let's go.
Yeah, it really didn't seem like it was going to happen with, Dalvin Cook not playing at all, continuing underperformance from Allen Robinson. For the most part, I made the right start putting in Marquez Callaway.
How about that Hail Mary at halftime?
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, ultimately, without that, I still would have won.
Need it, right?
Yeah, for the most part, I really owe my victory to my boy Justin Herbert putting up 42 points. Absolutely huge performance against the Browns. You would imagine with how Dalvin Cook that I shouldn't have stood a chance in this one, but between Russell Wilson getting hurt for Andy and not having McCaffrey and being forced to start Naheem Hines, who only put up 1.2 points, really his team didn't show up apart from DeAndre Swift, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase, and we only have 3 guys that score what you would imagine that they're supposed to, then it's always going to end poorly for you. So 110 is oftentimes not enough to win unless your opponent's team really, really falls flat. But I finally was able to get a decent week despite not having Cook. So it was a much needed win, not one I expected, but ended up being enough.
Definitely. Seems like Andy couldn't buy a touchdown out of any of his other guys that weren't named Jamar Chase or Jefferson or Swift.
Yep.
On to the next one. We got Team Butts, Kyle Butts versus Rusty Kuntz, Trevor Wiscotchel. This ultimately put Butts at 3-2 to tie Trevor. 156 to 148 was a hella good game, was close. Let's see the difference makers. Obviously, Devontae Adams and Jalen Hurts. Did they have anybody playing on Monday night? Michael Pittman was ultimately the deciding factor. Is that right?
Yeah, yes, Michael Pittman put him over the top. Had great production from Dawson Knox, over 100 yards and a touchdown. Devontae Adams went absolutely nuclear with 11 receptions, 200 yards and a touchdown. So,
did somebody say Devontae Adams is out next week or tomorrow, Sunday?
I cannot confirm nor deny. According to what I'm looking at, he's healthy, but I don't know. I don't know.
I thought somebody put that in the chat or something. I don't know.
I mean, even the play by Butts of putting in Tim Patrick, getting 7 catches for 89 yards, 15.9 points was big. Good contributions from really all of his receivers between Adams, CeeDee Lamb, and Michael Pittman. So you got to figure when you make the right starts like Butts did, you're going to earn a victory. A bit unlucky for Trevor, putting up 148 points and not getting the win. But I'm sure that you can relate just as much as anyone. Sometimes your team scores and performs really well, but if your opponent's team performs even better, obviously it's going to result in a loss for you. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. All right, moving on to our one and only viewer currently, Rob David Zabecki. Shout out, Rob. XNXS Alexis, Texas, our luckiest team in the league versus Coach Carr, David Carr, which I believe he just changed his name this week from Victoria's Secret. So officially Coach Carr. Rob didn't necessarily need luck this week. 135 is still an admirable score. He still would have beat probably like 5 teams, I bet, in the league. So 135 is still something to shoot for. So it was a good showing. It was never really a sweat. Jonathan Taylor took the top off. I believe he only needed 1 or 2 points out of Taylor going into Monday night. So obviously on that first drive, it was over. Can't say enough about starting Mike Davis and Cordero Patterson. They got the job done, I guess. I wouldn't necessarily consider an average of 10 points because they scored 30 combined. So average of 15, I guess that's okay. But in my opinion, there just aren't enough touchdowns to go around. I don't think Atlanta's offense is good enough for that to be sustainable where they average 30 a week combined.
Yeah, I mean, you can live with 15 each from your running backs so long as you get good enough production out of your wide receivers. And between his 3 starting receivers that he put up, they only scored about 15 points. So just not going to get the job done. It looked like Rob almost beat Coach Carr with just Josh Allen, Jonathan Taylor, and Alexander Madison, and then just the 15.
Yeah, everybody else scored like 5 points
over the edge there.
Yeah, definitely. Essentially one of 3 dudes. And then last but not least, moving on, getting this done over with quick, actually became an unexpected sweat. Billy could have lost in the most dramatic finish. I thought me and Mikey were in a sweat. This was so dramatic. Was not even close, was never even thought of that Devin could have won this one. Mark Andrews pulling 41 points out of his ass, only needed 4 more points to beat Billy. Going into overtime, if Mark Andrews catches that touchdown instead of Marquise Brown, Billy loses in the most – it would have been the most heartbreaking fashion I think the league would have ever seen. It would have been a 48-point night by Mark Andrews to come back and beat Billy when nobody expected it until the last drive of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, he got the 2 touchdowns and then caught both 2-point conversions. It just looked like everything was going through Mark Andrews there in the fourth quarter. So, yeah, definitely a sweat for Billy. Like you said, it didn't look like there was any chance he would lose. And then, yeah, a 41-point performance from a tight end is pretty impressive.
And then when the Ravens win the coin toss, I guarantee it, Billy was shitting himself. I guarantee it. But alas, can't say enough about Billy's team. Everybody on his team is worth starting on any team. So it's whatever.
Agree.
All right, let's see. Let's go to recent activity. We have a lot of recent activity to discuss.
Yeah, we got to go probably back to the trade that went through on Wednesday.
Yep, it looks like it. I just passed that. The first trade of the week. Yep, it was Wednesday. Team bye week. Devin Pooley trades A.J. Brown and Aaron Rodgers to Coach Carr for Dak Prescott and Zach Moss. Wiseman, what do you think?
Well, obviously having a piece of the Bills offense, you would think, the Bills look really great this year. You'd think that, Zach Moss has some touchdown upside. It feels like for the most part, when they're within the 5, you got to expect Josh Allen's going to be the one to run it in the end zone. So I don't know if I'm necessarily touching Zach Moss in that situation. I mean, I guess I see the value that Devin was assuming he was getting out of this one, but I don't think it's the right move to sell low on A.J. Brown right now. I think that he's bound to return to normal production for somebody of his quality. And then, I mean, trading quarterback for quarterback at any given week, Dak or Aaron Rodgers could outperform one another. So I think that the way this trade really breaks down is A.J. Brown versus Zach Moss, and I would take A.J. Brown all day.
I mean, couldn't agree with you more. Everybody in the league, just judging by my roster and my way I play the game, knows how I feel about running backs in general. There's just simply more upside to be gained by starting receivers over running backs. While you would think that Dak Prescott is a marginal upgrade at quarterback, at the end of the day, Dallas is just running over teams so hard and their defense is playing so good that Dallas doesn't need to necessarily rely on Dak and pass the ball like crazy. So like you said, on any given week, Aaron Rodgers is simply able to outplay Dak as far as fantasy points goes. At best, Zach Moss is a high-end RB2. You already said it. Josh Allen is going to be scoring a lot of those rushing touchdowns. And at the end of the day, while I did think it was a good time to have Zach Moss, because it does look like the Bills are favoring Moss over Singletary right now, at the end of the day, it's still a split backfield. So there's 3 guys in that offense capable of rushing for touchdowns. So it just simply seems like an RB2 trade, at best a high-end RB2 for a wide receiver 1. You can't expect Derrick Henry to score every single touchdown.
I don't know if it's necessarily fair to say A.J. Brown's a wide receiver 1. He definitely has wide receiver 1 upside, but has been a serial underperformer this year.
Sure. And at the end of the day, when I'm constructing a roster, I mean, I agree with you. At the end of the day, when I'm constructing a roster, I'm simply just trying to capture the most upside. And A.J. Brown's ceiling is simply dramatically higher than Zach Moss's. So that's how I feel.
Yeah, I agree. At any given moment, A.J. Brown with the ball in his hands can take it to the house. It just hasn't happened yet, really.
Yeah, you will simply not see a 30-point performance out of Zach Moss.
Unless he finds the end zone 3 times.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, there's 3 guys rushing the ball. Anyways, let's move on. I dropped Daniel Jones for Taylor Heineke. I could start Jones this week, although I think they're facing the Rams, so it's just a bad play. Taylor Heineke's clearly the streamer this week for me. Let's see. We can see Parrot Campbell edition, a Marlon Mack edition for $11. It looks like it's the hot item added by Billy. But adds Dan Arnold. Deshaun Jackson dropped. I think that's interesting if somebody goes and picks him up. At the end of the day, anytime Rams are in a game where they want to pass the ball, they seem to find Deshaun Jackson for a deep one. So that's interesting. P. Ryan dropped as he's not playing this week for Jerick McKinnon. McKinnon is curious, although he seems to be a player that the Chiefs are just kind of scheming here and there. I don't think he's ever going to have a heavy role.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to pick up Darrell Williams before the Clyde Edwards-Helaire injury, so a bit of timing on my end.
Yeah, very nice. Let me see.
Got a trade there.
Well, this was me sending that one through. So we have a trade up here.
Yeah. Between Butts and Rob.
Yep. So we got Team Butts trading Robbie Anderson and Miles Sanders for Crowder and Adam Thielen. And, they finished this trade 10 minutes before kickoff. I happened to not be by my computer, so we couldn't get it to go through. Sanders is officially locked. Probably right as soon as we're done with the stream, I will make it so we don't even have a review process. If it's bad enough, I can simply just edit the rosters and change them back if we have to. But we obviously don't want something like that to happen again. And, our luckiest team in the league, Rob, gets to fade the shit Miles Sanders game because of this. So, I mean, it's the way she goes. Wiseman, take us through the trade. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, so it would appear that Miles Sanders has been a bit disappointing this season. I think it's because Jalen Hurts has been vulturing a lot of those goal line touchdowns. It would appear that Butts was trying to get away from stacking Sanders and Hurts together. Adam Thielen's another player who you would expect better out of compared to what his performances have been this season. Obviously, he's capable of turning it around. So I think that the ceiling of Adam Thielen is higher probably than any other player in this trade. So you would imagine that Butts is getting the best player in the trade here. But with Barkley going down, Rob needed a guy who could potentially be an RB2 with Miles Sanders. While he may not have the touchdown upside that perhaps he's had in years past, he's still a solid pass-catching running back. So definitely is somebody that you can put in your running back 2 spot. Robbie Anderson has a lot of upside. I know that the Panthers have been playing fairly well this season. But I know that Rob values Jamison Crowder a lot, so I'm a little surprised to see him letting him go. But clearly Rob's got a plan here. I guess I think I would slightly rather be on Butt's side just because I think Adam Thielen's the best player in this trade.
Sure. I can agree with the Adam Thielen thing. Definitely has the most upside. He can go for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, I think, in any given game. He's getting up there in age, seems to be tailing off a little bit, but I think that upside is always in play. I agree. Rob has always been a Crowder guy, so that is curious as well. Robbie Anderson hasn't really done shit this year. I guess it's always in play. I think it helps Anderson this week that McCaffrey's going to miss again. I'm not huge on the Miles Sanders thing. I mean, I will announce my feeling about running backs all year, whatever. So I guess this is like one where we'll simply have to see. And I think Rob just flat out lost. I don't understand getting rid of Adam Thielen here.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Let's see. People adding David Njoku on a whim because they've seen him get it 100 yards in the highest scoring game of the year. That's fine, I guess. Okay, here's where it gets interesting. Holy fuck, today was a bomb. Straight up nuclear bomb today. Rob somehow gets 3 trades in a matter of 24 hours. Our first one. Rob trades away Jonathan Taylor, Michael Thomas, Brandon Cooks, Noah Fant. For Myles Gaskin, DeAndre Hopkins, Robert Woods. Wiseman, how do you feel?
Well, I think that this trade is slightly in Rob's favor as things stand right now. I know that Brandon Cooks is the number 1 target on the Texans offense. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor has been a solid performer so far this season. He's a top 12 running back right now. I know a lot of it has been propelled by his most recent game. But the Colts, have a good offensive line, and he's a talented running back himself. So definitely a solid running back for Drake to acquire. But giving up DeAndre Hopkins, who you could say on talent alone could be the best receiver in the league, definitely hurts. I know that Robert Woods hasn't quite got going yet, but as Rob mentioned in the chat, the Rams are one of the better offenses in the league this year, so having a piece of that is definitely appealing. And then Myles Gaskin can be really hit or miss, but Rob is just basically looking to fill his running back spots while he waits for Saquon to get healthy. And obviously, Drake is banking on Michael Thomas coming back and doing Michael Thomas things. He has wide receiver 1 upside naturally, so if he's able to establish a connection with Jameis Winston, this could end up being a valuable trade for Drake where he gets, 2 wide receiver 1s. Maybe Brandon Cooks is like a high-end wide receiver 2 just because the Texans offense isn't that great.
At best, though, right? Like on his very best week.
Yeah, I would say so. Like Michael Thomas and Brandon Cooks both have wide receiver 1 upside. Jonathan Taylor has running back 1 upside. But, of course, DeAndre Hopkins and Robert Woods both have wide receiver 1 upside. So, I guess on paper, as Drake said, it might look worse than it really is, but I think that trading away DeAndre Hopkins is a blow. So I think that the analysis in the chat is a little bit fair that Drake may have given up a bit much here.
I guess here's just kind of how I feel about it. Outside of everything you said, let's say on that screenplay on the first drive of the game, Jonathan Taylor gets tackled for a loss. That means he finishes the game with about 15 points. Drake never pulls the trigger if that happens. Drake never commits if Jonathan Taylor only scored 15 points against Baltimore, right? So it just seems like he's just screaming recency bias on the Taylor thing. I mean, what's there to say about Hopkins and Robert Woods besides everything you've already said? I mean, Robert Woods has had 12 points every week except for once, and then had a 30-point game as well. Miles Gaskin. Go ahead.
Bobby Trees.
Bobby Trees, that's right. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins, it's fair to say he hasn't captured the upside yet that we're used to, but like you said, on skill alone, he's clearly the best player in the trade and maybe the best wide receiver in the NFL. And the Brandon Cooks thing, definitely a wide receiver 3, has high-end wide receiver 2 upside, I guess. But at the end of the day, he's on a bottom 3 NFL team, and a team that simply won't be scoring enough touchdowns for it to justify it, really, in my opinion. And we'll reiterate, on paper, it looks bad. Somehow, if Drake runs pure, this trade could work out for him. But it's just simply unnecessary, in my opinion, and didn't accomplish much. So just felt like a reach, I guess.
I get it.
All right. And then Rob and you, take us through that trade.
Yeah, so Rob had originally reached out to me regarding this trade, and I took some time to think about it. At first, I thought that I didn't really want to give up Keenan Allen. I liked having the stack with Justin Herbert. Watching the Chargers this season, Keenan Allen hasn't gotten a ton of looks in the red zone. It's mostly been Mike Williams, Jared Cook, Donald Parham, and, of course, Austin Eckler. So most of the damage Keenan Allen's done has been between the 20s. Not to say that, he isn't a threat to score a touchdown, because Keenan Allen's obviously an elite receiver. And, maybe Amari Cooper is a slight downgrade compared to Keenan Allen. But I wasn't too.
You think?
I think so, but I'm a little biased, of course. But Amari Cooper, is still in a great offense. The Cowboys look very good this year. But as you mentioned before, they don't have to rely on the pass as much since the run game has been so good. My theory is that while I might downgrade a little bit the wide receiver position, I'm trading a tight end for a valuable running back for me, because Dalvin Cook being in and out of the Vikings lineup has really screwed me fantasy-wise. So that safety with having Alex Madison is going to solidify me getting points from a running back position where I have been struggling a lot this season. So you could argue that Rob's getting the best player in the trade with Keenan Allen and obviously getting Dallas Goedert, while Ertz was just traded from the Eagles. Could potentially be a great move for him. But at the end of the day, I was willing to make a slight downgrade at wide receiver to ensure that Dalvin Cook does not screw me anymore by getting injured.
Sure. I definitely think Amari Cooper is probably the best player in the trade. We're both equally biased. I think Amari Cooper just has more touchdown upside. I mean, you hit it when you said Keenan Allen hasn't really scored any touchdowns. He's very consistent, of course. He's definitely gonna get more targets than Amari Cooper is on a per week basis. Somebody said Jed's buying time for the NFL, Billy. Anyways, on a per week basis, Keenan Allen for sure is going to demand more targets. I think Amari Cooper has the touchdown upside that you want, and the Alexander Madison thing is just a steal for you. It was huge. In my opinion, this was just an awesome trade for you. Rob must have been out of tight end because he traded away Noah Fant, correct? So Rob needed a tight end. He's got a tight end with some touchdown upside now, so it works out for both of you. I definitely think you won the trade, and it will improve your floor dramatically and will give you a little bit more upside at wide receiver. So although Keenan Allen might be a little bit more consistent, I think it's definitely worth it when you get the touchdown upside and you get Madison to back you up a little bit.
That was the idea.
Yes, sir. And that was it. I mean, what a splash as far as those big trades go. And we waited all season, and it looks like they're starting to pour in. We know Coach Carr is desperate, so we'll see what he pulls out of his ass coming soon. I can't wait to see it. Why am I frozen here? Did you see that?
Are we going into this upcoming week's matchup?
Yeah, the preview.
All right. We'll see if it's time for the inevitable, as Billy is saying.
My screen shared. Can you see my screen?
Yeah. Are you ready for the inevitable?
What, me getting booted or losing to Billy? I'm not losing to Billy.
He's pretty confident, and you seem to understand the quality of his team.
I understand the quality of Billy's team, but my team is so much better. All right, let's see here. Advertisement.
Well, if we're starting with yours, go ahead and mute that there so it doesn't start blasting the volume. Obviously, you're going with the stream. You're anticipating that with Kansas City's crappy defense and their good offense, that game will be high scoring. Heineke himself is not an elite quarterback, but in fantasy football, a lot of times it's more about matchup than talent. So I understand the play there. Tannehill against Buffalo, you would think that perhaps could produce the same result. The Titans have a pretty solid offense, have some great pieces in there, so you think that Tannehill's more than capable of putting up some points. You get a big boost with Chubb being out, with Kareem Hunt there. And then obviously, your receivers. Your receivers are in some pretty good spots. Tyreek Hill against the football team, DK Metcalf against Pittsburgh, and Mike Williams against Baltimore, which Chargers versus Ravens, you imagine, has the opportunity to be a pretty high-scoring game as well. Obviously, you were hoping that Julio Jones plays. That could be a big pivotal point in the matchup with him having Tannehill versus you having Julio. You might be able to take some of those points away. Kadarius Toney had a breakout game. Obviously, we'll see if he's able to keep that up, regardless if Daniel Jones plays or not. But Billy's team is just full of a lot of steady performers. Zach Ertz only put up 12.9 points for him, but it's
of course
decent.
He luck boxes into the touchdown.
Hey, sometimes that's all that you need. But yeah, Najee Harris, James Robinson have been great all year. They're both in good matchups. I would imagine that Pittsburgh should be able to beat the Seahawks without Russell Wilson or Chris Carson playing. I think it's going to hurt their offense quite a bit, which would mean that the Steelers will probably have more time of possession, which means Najee Harris will get more volume. But having Diggs and DJ Moore, who've been great this year, is going to help him a lot. Chase Claypool's in a good spot, I think, as well. And Darrell Henderson on the Rams, you'd imagine that the Rams should handle that game pretty easily, which means that Darrell Henderson will get a lot of opportunities to run the ball. This is predicted to be a neck-and-neck matchup. It's really hard for me to pick one. You guys have both been pretty unlucky, so I could see either of you continuing that bad luck here. Stop doing that.
I'm gonna take Billy's team, and here's why. Every matchup for his team is phenomenal. He has a phenomenal matchup for everybody. The Titans are gonna have to pass. Pittsburgh is going to run over a beat-up Seattle. Seattle is shit. Their defense is absolute shit. So, I mean, if there is 1 week where you have to start Najee and Chase Claypool, this is the week. James Robinson's got Miami. Stephon Diggs has got Tennessee. I mean, you go through it all. Darrell Henderson, unless Sony Michel vultures a couple TDs, Henderson's just going to run over the Giants. Kareem Hunt getting the news about Nick Chubb today is virtually the only thing that could save me. I'm going to need Tyreek Hill to have his game. I would imagine he's not really that injured. And I'm going to need Geno Smith to force the DK Metcalf targets. He's going to have to force them. A lot of people on my team are in really good matchups, but it just doesn't seem like it's possible.
Yeah, I think that Billy's team is definitely, you could argue, the strongest, if not top 3 in the league this year. So you wouldn't be surprised if he came away with the result this week. But I think that with your receivers, you have a chance.
Yes, sir. On to the next matchup.
Tony Pollard could definitely make – if Tony Pollard has a game, that would be big for you. But if Tony Pollard
That's what I need for sure.
doesn't do much, then it's going to be really tough for you to overcome it.
Yeah, and whether or not Daniel Jones plays will probably be pretty big for Kadarius Toney as well. I've seen something that said that he's on track to it. He could play, but at the end of the day, he's facing the Rams, and that's probably the best defense in the NFL, so we'll see.
What's next?
Your matchup versus Drake.
Oh, yeah. According to the projections, not looking real good for me here. Obviously, since the Eagles have played and I traded an Eagles player, the trade's not going to go through for me this week. So I'm just going to have to count on Dalvin Cook not being limited. Dalvin Cook is obviously capable of putting up a lot of points. He's going to need to float my Mark Ingram start, which is really ugly. Probably not going to be the best game script for some of my players here. I'm going to need a big game out of Herbert and Allen and Cook to give me a chance here because, Allen Robinson, I don't know if at any point he's going to turn it around. Manny Sanders has been solid. Hunter Henry is a little bit of chasing the points here, but I didn't really have an option at tight end. And then you would just hope that Kirk is able to find some space against the Browns secondary. They definitely looked beatable last week, and I'm just hoping that Darrell Williams can fall in the end zone. But I think Drake has to be the favorite here. Kyler Murray should be able to dice up that Cleveland secondary. Aaron Jones should be able to dominate against the Bears. Cooper Kupp against the Giants should be able to do enough. Cooper Kupp's been great this year. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to win this one, and I think the projections are fair in having me lose by 20 points.
I think you have a better chance than the projections are leading on. Chicago's got a pretty good defense. In my opinion, your matchup's going to be all where the touchdowns fall. Mark Ingram's definitely the red zone touchdown guy. I've seen him have a couple goal line opportunities last week. Dalvin Cook had his first full practice this week as well. Herbert's going to be lighting up the scoreboard against Baltimore. And you have Emmanuel Sanders against Tennessee's really weak secondary, so that helps you. I definitely think that this could be a week where Kyler gets beat up by Cleveland, so that works for you as well. But let me just say, although this is a week where Jonathan Taylor should do really great against Houston, Drake's team just looks so much worse without DeAndre Hopkins. He's starting Sterling Shepard permanently, it seems like. Jarvis Landry will probably actually be in there eventually, but regardless, whether it's Jarvis Landry or Sterling Shepard, both of those guys are in offenses where it's like a carousel of receivers and you don't know where the targets are going to go. At the end of the day, Sterling Shepard's a slot guy, and we just discovered how great Kadarius Toney is, and they still have Kenny Galladay, and they still have Slayton. So I think Drake's team looks dramatically worse. And if Cardinals can't compete in a shootout against Cleveland, then you definitely have a chance. So
I have a chance, but I don't think it looks likely. My team has been pretty disappointing this year, so my expectations are not high.
I'm telling you, Keenan Allen gets a touchdown and Mark Ingram luck boxes into one. I think you definitely have a pretty good chance. On to the next one. The Golden Taint, our first place team, Ricky versus Kyle Butts. Wiseman, how do you feel about this matchup?
Let's see. Butts had a pretty good start from Jalen Hurts. 25 points is solid. Jalen Hurts has been a pretty consistent performer. Miles Sanders didn't really cover himself in glory, let's say that. But Mike Evans didn't necessarily give Ricky a good start either. Ricky took a blow by not having Nick Chubb this week. Obviously, David Montgomery is on IR. Kenny Galladay is hurt. Rob Gronkowski is hurt. So a lot of injury issues for Ricky here. Pretty speculative starts at both flex spots there. Those are definitely guys who are capable of, getting a 60-plus yard touchdown, which would be huge for him. But
yeah.
Just between Odell Beckham and Tyler Lockett with Geno Smith at the helm, he's going to need an absolutely monstrous game out of Lamar Jackson and Austin.
And Eckler, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think that Butts should win this one pretty handily. I
agree. It's surprising considering Miles Sanders only scored the 8. but everybody else is quality on Butts' team. And Samaje Perine's out, so Mixon should go back to that workload that he's used to getting in the past game. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. Butts should win this one handily. He would need another 40-point performance out of Lamar Jackson, I think, to compete. Tyler Lockett simply does not have that upside without Russell Wilson. So,
yeah, it should be Butts.
We'll see. I mean, Tyreek Hill was banged up. I hope it doesn't affect the game, considering the fact that they're 2-3 now, the Chiefs.
Yep.
Yeah, they can't afford to lose again. But if they just simply swap McCole Hardman into that Tyreek position, which they have done in the past, then that definitely gives Ricky a chance. So we'll see. Next matchup, Miller Time versus Coach Carr. Andy falls to 3-2 because of you last week, and Coach Carr is 2-3. How do you feel about this one?
This looks to be, according to the projections, one of the lower scoring matchups we'll have this week. Coach Carr can't start any of his Falcons or 49ers since they're on bye this week, and he does have a few of those members of those teams. But trading for A.J. Brown definitely makes the starting lineup a little bit more appealing. Obviously, if Tyreek Hill is banged up, that helps Travis Kelce out a lot. So Travis Kelce could definitely have a big game against the football team. Flexes, not the greatest. It seems like starting David Njoku might be chasing points a little bit. We'll see if he's able to keep up that type of production. Definitely has the talent, but remains to be seen whether or not he can be a consistent performer as far as fantasy goes. I'm pretty sure Khalif Raymond put up a donut last week, so I know that half of his bench is on bye, so he's just starting who he can right now. Obviously, Chenault and Henry Ruggs are deep threats, but I just don't think it's going to be enough for it to beat Andy's team. I know Andy is missing Christian McCaffrey yet again, but between Kirk Cousins having a good matchup and DeAndre Swift has been very consistent. Bengals defense has been decent, but I don't know. I just think between his trio of receivers he's starting, I think Jacoby Myers has had everything apart from the touchdowns this season. So I think that I would take Andy here. I think the projections are fair in predicting him to win.
Yeah, I agree. Andy's team should win this one handily. The only thing of concern is that Terry McLaurin missed practice today. But if you read right here, it looks like Ron Rivera said it was in abundance of caution. Essentially, maybe they're kind of just giving him the Friday off. But let's see.
Before we get ahead of ourselves here, I see Rob's comment. He says he likes Njoku rest of the season. And, I'm not saying by any means that David Njoku is not capable of being a fantasy starter. He's an immense talent. He's absolutely dominant at the college level. And if he establishes a good connection with Baker Mayfield, it's possible that he gets enough, targets and receptions to be a valuable fantasy option because by and large, the Cleveland receivers have not really got the job done this year. Obviously, Jarvis Landry's been hurt. Odell Beckham's been a huge underperformer. And Austin Hooper's been an underperformer too. So I definitely see Rob's argument here, but I just need to see more before I would rely on him personally.
Yeah, I think David Njoku suffers just from the fact that he's with the Browns. Browns seem like they're hiding Baker behind their defense and their run game right now. And as we mentioned earlier, they're just a carousel of pass catchers where they don't seem to have a favorite or care. David Njoku, had a lucky 80-yard touchdown last week or something?
No, it wasn't lucky. Our Chargers defense just let him go.
But that's what I'm getting at. Without that 80-yard touchdown, again, same thing with Drake and that Jonathan Taylor thing. If that doesn't happen, he has 15 less points. He has a 12 ball. And do they pick up David Njoku after a 12-point performance? Probably not. And they're probably not going to face another 50-point shootout game. It's definitely in the realm of possibility. But, yeah, Coach Carr's got to do something quick. Having 3 Atlanta players is way less than ideal. He's definitely suffering from it this week with all the buys. And he just loses so much upside. He's really going to need Jamal Williams to vulture DeAndre Swift's touchdowns this week. But outside of that, he just has like no firepower. He's going to need Kelsey to be the guy this week. He's going to need one of those Travis Kelsey weeks. Otherwise, he has no chance. And I mean, AJ Brown's still there. So we'll see. I just think Andy's got way too much. So.
Fair point. Agreed.
Yes, sir. Second to last one, we have Trevor versus John is loose, Mikey Martinez. How do you feel about this one?
Well, obviously, Mikey's got a monstrous start between the 30 points from Fournette and the 24 points from Antonio Brown. Probably the two of the best players as far as fantasy value goes on the Buccaneers, who are arguably the most talented team in the NFL. So definitely two huge performers. And he hasn't even had Mahomes, Henry, and Waller play yet. So you got to imagine that those guys are going to be enough to propel him to victory this week. Obviously, I think Zeke is capable of having a big game against the Patriots. Antonio Gibson, if he's involved in the passing game, is definitely capable of putting up points against the Chiefs. Their defense has left a lot to be desired this season. Courtland Sutton is starting to return to form for the Broncos, excuse me. But I think he's got to rely on Alex Collins having a big game and Deontay Johnson having a big game as well. But I think that Mikey has already accepted defeat this week. I'm sorry, Trevor has already accepted defeat with Mikey this week. Mikey's team at the beginning of the season looked like it was destined for failure, but has absolutely blown up and been great. So I think that Mikey's projected 161 right now, and that is a huge score to overcome if it comes to fruition. So it would look like Mikey is the favorite here.
For sure. I said it in the group chat earlier today, or maybe it was yesterday. Mikey for sure has like the best 5 players. Like if you were to take everybody's best 5 players, I think Mikey's is number 1. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is number 1 in fantasy points scored. Derrick Henry is also number 1. Antonio Brown is finally on that breakout. Marquise Brown and Lamar Jackson are simply unstoppable right now. And the Buccaneers clearly moved on from Ronald Jones, and Leonard Fournette is that feature guy. He's handling a big role in both the pass game and the run game. So, and then we didn't even mention Darren Waller at that. So if Mikey had, let's see, who does he have on the bench? I mean, he never got his chance with Will Fuller yet. He just picked up T.Y. Hilton. He still has Chuba Hubbard. So, I mean, wink, wink. I'm not going to mention anything there. So if Mikey could simply fill that wide receiver spot and those other 2 flex spots, you'd by far and away be unstoppable. And yeah, Trevor doesn't have much of a chance. He would need some random stuff to happen this week to win. He just the Brady Godwin leverage versus Fournette and Brown is just too much to overcome.
Would surely seem that way.
All right, last but not least, Rob 4-1, Devin Pooley 1-4.
Well, what's there to say here? Devin's team is barely predicted to score over 100 this week. Not getting much from Devonta Smith hurts. T. Higgins is in a good spot against Detroit. Mark Andrews is in a good spot against the Chargers. But that's about where it ends. Rob's team obviously would benefit if his trades went all the way through that he made. He's going to roll with a trio of Thielen, Cooper, and Hopkins at wide receiver. Running backs, not the sexiest, but obviously Latavius Murray is in a good spot. Chargers' run defense is quite porous, so it could be a big game for Latavius Murray. Josh Allen's been incredible. Will definitely be able to put in work against the Titans' defense. And then having Robert Woods at his flex is really solid. Robert's team is not predicted to score a ton of points this week, but should definitely be enough to get the job done this week.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be another bye week for team bye week, it seems. What was his trade? I don't even remember at this point. Alvin Kamara on bye just hurts him. He definitely has.
IR hurts too.
Yeah, I mean, He's got some guys that he'll need touchdowns out of, like Kenyon Drake. He'll really need that. He'll really need the A.J. Green versus DeAndre Hopkins touchdown leverage. Devontae Smith did not help him. And T. Higgins is still the man, and the Bengals can pass the ball. So I don't know how I feel about Zach Moss versus Tennessee. I think it's going to be more of a passing type game, so maybe he can catch some balls, but I don't see this as a week either where Dak Prescott needs to be passing the ball a lot. So I simply just think it's too much once again.
I concur.
Alas, Wiseman concurs. So that's it. That's what we got for this week. That was everything. That was our test run with the live stream. We're 50 minutes in. Rob is still currently our only viewer. Shout out, Rob. Maybe we'll be able to do this at a better time next time. Wiseman had some things going on. So, but also, it's just the way she goes when we're doing this for fun. So,
yeah, fellas, I'm a little bit busy this time of year between my job and also coaching at Whitmer. Had some obligations regarding that following my regular day of work today, but our season is coming to an end within the next couple weeks here. So once that's over, my late night obligations will be much fewer, much less. I don't know, whatever the correct grammatical term would be.
For sure. That was fun. Thanks for being here for 50 minutes, y'all. And good luck to everybody. I still plan on making the playoffs. So you guys are going to be in for one. Hold on. And can I say something real quick? Is there anything more goddamn annoying than Billy Block on a win streak? Like, Jesus Christ. Is this his first time or what? Jeez. He only blows up the chat when he's winning.
Well, I mean, in fairness, it's not only when he's winning. It's just when anything happens. He's the first one to say something.
It's because he's winning. Fuck him. Fucking luckbox. Anyways.
He doesn't watch these anyway, so it doesn't matter what you say.
Yeah, fuck that dude. All right, so that's it from Ween Wiseman. Wiseman, you got anything else?
No, nothing regarding fantasy football. Happy with the way the Chargers have played so far, but I think everybody already knows that.
Yes, sir. And I think I need to fix my mic because I don't think my mic worked this whole time, and I had to use the camera webcam mic. So
I don't know. Tap on it doesn't make noise.
No, it doesn't.
No, it's not
yeah. Well, I don't see why that it would need to be an audio mixer if I'm not using an audio mixer. Anyways, Rob says fuck Jed at the end of this thing. So me and we're out. Peace.